So, we're at it. Saba. One of the most feared factions in the game, especially by siege players, and I'd expect quite a lot of land players due to its very cheap and cost-effective camel cataphracts, and its overall cost efficiency as a faction and its infantry and its ranged troops with the exception of the Sabaean archers. Everywhere Saba has is pretty good at cost efficiency, but perhaps not at the best of its tier. So, whilst it's not of jack of all trades, as its missiles are very lacking, but they're still, usable, it's still a very, very good faction. It's melee infantry. It might be lacking compared to other factions, but its mercenary mascot marauders, being unlimited, are so good. They're armor piercing, they have the charge bonus of a Thracian warrior, they have okay survivability for the price. The only problem is morale. Saba has a major problem with morale, like 35 and 45 respectively. Its cav is alright. I say alright. Its horses, like the cavalry of horses, isn't great, but its camels where Saba specialises. It's got the Murrib camel cataphracts, the Sabaean camel cataphracts, royal camel archers, camel spearmen, armoured camel spearmen, camel lancers, and regular camel archers. Only a few of those are worth bringing, due to just mass and how the game works. Its spears are lacking, it hasn't got great spears. And its missiles are cheap and cheerful missiles, but they aren't gonna win you any archer fights really. They're more of a support, rather than a central role into playing Saba. In sieges, which is what these videos are for, Saba can be played two ways. Obviously, the first being the sally, which is the more common one, or you can bait your opponent into thinking you're going to sally, they're going to bring a bunch of cav to try and counter your camels, then all of a sudden, you don't sally. And now they've got a bunch of cav to attack a city with. Yes, you may not have shield wall, but your general's probably going to be a Murrib camel, or something like that. Meaning it can hold its own, and you can support it, etc, etc. And you will have a teammate, let's say a pair of Baktria, a great pairing. Baktria Royal Cavalry. Gen is pretty good. So, just to summarize then, before we go in for the, sorry, and I was just looking at the camels there. I was just wondering, the camel lancers the shield, but no, it's just the camel spearman. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about that. Overall, the big buffs of Saba is armor piercing, charge bonus, camels, and cost-efficient missiles, for the most part. And the downsides is the morale, no good missiles, relies on cycle charging, and then the cavalry that isn't camels isn't that good, and also missile cavalry is sorely lacking for the most part. But yeah, that should do it for Saba at the moment, and I will go onto the open plain and we will see them. We'll start off with the Desert Levy then, a unit that has been previously covered, and is a very, very good one for 190. It may lack Peeler compared to other sword infantry, however it has loose spacing, meaning it's very good for pushing up siege equipment, like tortoises. It's got 35 weapon damage, meaning every time it lands a hit, it can do a significant amount of damage, though it's mostly used as a Peeler soaker, taunt pusher, etc. That they will get a few kills if battle buddied with like allied infantry, like a 4-axe swordsman, because you wouldn't be battle buddying much as Saba with your own infantry, as they rely on cycle charges. Yeah, Desert Levy for 190, a very core unit on defense and attack, versatile, good for burning down arrow towers and barb maps, good for pushing up siege equipment, good in general. It's a very good unit for 190. Moving on to the Spearman counterpart, the Desert Spearman. 230, I'd rather get the Desert Levy, because you can even chevron it after, but there is a time when you could bring it, and if you do end up sallying out, and you, let's say, have a Scorpion, you can use it to help protect the Scorpion from enemy cav, if you, like, form up in a blob, as I will show you. Whilst they don't have great mass, you can form up in a blob like this, if they would want to move. There we go. So what will happen is, the cavalry, that have arrows, it will charge, and it'll get to around like this row here, meaning you still have like half the unit standing up and ready to stand ready against the charge. So it can be used to defend a Scorpion, but that's about it. I wouldn't recommend it. It's very situational. Bring a desert levy. It's cheaper and better. Progressive for pushing up towards, etc. It's got that loose spacing. In terms of the Sabine Spearman, it's just an upgraded Desert Spearman. 300, they're actually not that bad stat-wise, but unfortunately it's a Spearman with, once again, not great stats. Its only real advantage is decent survivability of 300. It's got great holding power, I'm sure, of the shield screen, but once again, killing power beats holding power. So, you're not really going to be bringing these. You'd probably be bringing more Desert Levy, or, I don't know, an extra missile. For the 520 units, you have the Sabaean Swordsman and the Caravan Guard. Sabaean Swordsmen are like Nabatean Swordsmen, except they sacrifice health, a bit more armor, and better stats overall. However, they still do like the morale. They are slightly overpriced. I'd probably price them more nearer the Nabatean Swordsman. However, they're still good at killing other low tiers, and if you do bait your enemy into thinking you're going to sally, and you don't, then you can have, whether you class these as mid-tier or not, I do. I just class them a very, very low mid-tier. Yeah? Okay. Okay, sorry. Well, lost train of thought. They have the morale problem, like I say, you can get like 14 mid-tiers if you bait the enemy into thinking you're going to sally and you go full infantry. Because, once again, 28 charge runners are very high. These guys are like a Celtic warrior on the charge, I've done the math. So overall, yeah. 520. Not the best unit at its price mark, but there aren't a lot of units at its price mark. So actually, that might be not true. I'd still bring them if you cap out at like 7 or 8 Mars Guards, depending on your rule set. But overall, they're still a great unit. Just make sure they don't start wagering at full strength, because they certainly can. Caravan Guard, not a good unit. It may have 80 range peeler, but it's non-targetable, as I will show you. So yeah, sorry. It's not got great survivability, doesn't have great holding power, melee defense of 42. Square is mid, especially for a unit like this. You can get Sabaean Swordsman that's going to do a lot more for you than the Caravan Guard ever will. So overall, don't bring the Caravan Guard, get the Sabaean Spearman. You don't have good stats, then unfortunately, I don't see a situation where you'll ever bring them. Moving on to the Mercenary Marib Guard, a unit that is 640. You could play around with it. It's certainly the more survivable unit. Great melee defense there. I'd imagine this is a very, very good holding unit of Cav counter. 640. It's unlimited. It's mercenary. It's not that bad, honestly, but I don't recommend it. Once again, you're missing the Elite Spear, and Hoplite will gives you 5 bonuses infantry. Shield Wall does not, making it better. Though, you can't really ask for much more from this kind of unit. But unfortunately, I don't think it's ever going to be worth it. But, you have the Mars Guards, you have the Spear Swords, and once again, killing power beats holding power, and it always will do. Despite its exceptional holding power, as you can see there, 78 melee defense and 82 armor with the shield wall. Moving on to some upper end melee infantry, we've got the Mars Guards, which, as you can see, the charge bonus for Thracian Warrior. Once again, low charge bonus, not charge bonus, morale. They do have Frenzy Charge. Frenzy Charge will increase their charge bonus, however, it is mostly used to make them unbreakable, because you see, 45 charge bonus is insane. But 45 morale means if you're playing against Swaby does well against Sabaean infantry, but not against Sabaean cavalry. So if you have a hexed bear in a tower and you're trying to cycle Mars Guards, if they start losing, they're going to rout. Same with the Sabaean swordsman. So that's a major problem. And it can be remedied with a commander gen, though I don't recommend it. Or a noble swordsman or something I encourage, but once again, noble swordsman isn't going to do much for you. Neither is the Marib Royal Guard in the back there, which we'll get onto in a minute. This is your main mid-tier. It's an AP, as you can see, it's got the axe, and, well, they're tired now because the ability wore out. So yeah. It's a brilliant unit, though it's dumpable, as you can see, 55 HP and 65 armor, and it relies on cycle charges. If it doesn't cycle, it's gonna lose. You gotta cycle these guys, but overall for 660, they are so, so good. Noble Swordsman, they wouldn't be that bad if they didn't cost 1, 780, 2 had no peeler, and 3 had low armor. The only time I'd ever bring one is for the encourage, for the +5 morale for the Mars guards. But they don't do that well in melee. They don't have Peeler. They only have a shield wall and encourage. That's about it for them. Poor weapon. Good melee attack, good defense, excellent morale. But it's the weapon, it's the armor, it's the lack of Peeler that don't make it worth it, especially when you have Mars guards that'll probably kill more for less, also being swordsman. Overall, don't bring the noble swordsman unless you desperately need morale. In which case you can take the commander gen. Marib Royal Guard, it's like their version of Rakem Palace Guard from Baktria. I think it is a slightly better unit than the Rakem, but it's still not worth it. Shield screen and no elite spear make it abysmal. For an elite spear at 1,160, they are expensive. They're only good at killing mid-tiers, really, and that's about it, unfortunately. But, yeah. You can get 2 Mars Guards for them, almost, and you can get over 2 Civilian Swords for them. So I'd rather get them than the Royal Guard. It's not gonna, unless you're doing some weird rule set, where it's like max 6 or something. Don't bring it. Never bring it. Okay, moving on to their missile roster. It's small, but for the slingers, levy skirmishers, and tribes people, all are cost effective. Javelin options and slinger options. Tribes people 250, 280 for the levy skirms, and 260 for the slings. Very cheap, very cost effective. Only basic damage, as you can see on all of them. At least they have 32 damage, not 29. No survivability on any of them, as you can see. But they're cheap, they get their ammo off, they got their value. Sabian archers are their version of baby archers with the 125 range and survivability. But they cost 360, which is more than an Eastern archer, and these guys are worse because they got less range. So they're only really good at... You can bring them, I've brought them before. But they're only really good if someone's trying to burn down... Let's say on a bar map like Eildon, they're trying to burn down the towers. You sally a low tier outside, like Desert Level Spear and Swords, and you just start sword-siding them, the archer, over the battlements. If you've got a slinger on the battlements, then it's good, but it's situational, and it's pricey for what it actually is. Overall, an overpriced archer, but it's still usable. Now, I think everyone's more interested in is the camels, so go over their shock cavalry. Right, I brought 2 Maribs by accident, my bad, but we'll start with the Marib. Well, for 1,280, it is an exceptional unit. It overcomes the problems with the Sabaean camels, where they lose to stuff like Hippeus. These guys beat Hippeus, even without trample, I believe. They are extremely, extremely good. They are a general option. Saba has 5. I will get onto them at the end of the video as to what they are after the army comp phase. Yeah, one of its general options. I wouldn't bring many of them. I'd only bring as a general. I wouldn't bring a second. I'd just spam the cheaper camels, as you can save 280 funds by doing so. But yeah, camels, once again, the way they work, the models don't collide, so they're better against infantry, worse against cavalry. They sort of phase through each other and do so well against infantry. Camel lancers, I know some people might like them, but I'd get the camel spearmen, as they're probably going to do the same job, and this camel spearmen have a shield, meaning that's more survivable, and they're even cheaper. These guys are 470, camel spearmen are 420. And they don't even have that good of a charge bonus. Look, it's only 44, which for a shock cav is the lowest I've ever seen. This is the standard camel for 1,000. As you can see, the stats are significantly worse than the Royal Marib. However, it's cheaper by 280, and you can get lots of them. They're the cheapest camel cataphracts in the game, and it's what Saba's known for. And I'm sure many players have PTSD, and I've even seen a few no Saba lobbies because of these units. They are extremely, extremely good. However, they are counterable with Hippeus and like other elite shock and melee cav. And there's heavy lancers. This is a unit that I do like. However, it's overshadowed by the camels. Yes, it's cheaper, but the camels are so much more survivable and damaging. Not that good in Saba's roster. However, for Baktria, it's a good option. But the camels overshadow it, but not a bad unit choice, as it would probably do better against cav. Now, Missile Cav will gloss over. Royal Camel Archers are basically a better version of Camel Archer. These guys are also a general option for 680. They have loose spacing, which is an interesting one. It's a Missile Cav, or just a missile in general of loose spacing. Makes it, makes it better against missiles, because it'll, as you can see, it only has 45 armor. But, yeah, I'd only bring it as a gen option. Once again, it can't shoot around it, as it's a Camel Archer, not a Horse Archer. I don't know why. I guess they just don't. But, yeah. Don't bring the Camel Archer. Royal Camel Archer is good for a cheap gen option. If you want to bring more camels or more infantry. It's a good one. It's still like a mini cataphract, but it's not going to survive anywhere near as much. I'll do the Chariot. Desert Chariot's aren't that good, though it's an option for Saba. These guys will probably get 200 to 300 kills on a good day, but most of the time they won't, because they have abysmal stats, as you can see. Fire Shot is good, however, a big warning about this is if you do Fire Shot, for some reason, they never stay hidden. So Standard Shot, then when they've spotted them, you charge in, go Fire Shot, because it helps break the unit, and they will hopefully take less casualties, but they're so fragile that the Desert Chariots arguably aren't worth it. They are cheap, 850, capped at 4, but I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't, because you have camels. Camels, camels, camels. That is the way that Saba works. You have Armoured Camel Spearmen, Arabian Cavalry, Camel Spearmen, Merkimya, and Royal Marib. None of these are really worth ever bringing, with the exception of the Camel Spearmen, as they're cheap, cost-effective for 20, they're going to do a lot of damage. Basically better version of the Camel Lancers. And you can use these guys as a distraction for your Camel Catas, or use the Camel Catas as a distraction for these guys, as they're both going to do a lot of damage to archers, no matter what. And as to why the other cavalry are worth it, Merkimya is medium, and its stats aren't that good. For 800, I would be expecting far better stats, I'm not gonna lie. Not that good. Royal Marib, I've experimented with it. On paper, its stats look excellent. And for 1160, it is. However, the mass lies to you, it's not very heavy. It's actually heavy. So, yeah, don't bring this unit. And also, it'd be overshadowed by the camels anyway. Then, of course, you have the Arabian and Armored Camels. Arabians, medium, no survivability, no bonus is large, but it gets peeler. Not worth bringing. And then the Armored Camel Spearmen. On paper, this sounds like a cool concept, but it's only 45 armor. So, it's... sorry, I just listened to what they said. Yeah. It's not that much no armor to the Camel Spearmen, and they cost like 740, something around that? 800? I can't remember. Don't bring it, just bring 2 Camel Spearmen, or just go all out for the Camel Cataphract, as they are better. But yeah, I'll post army comps on screen now. It'll be 2 attacking and 2 defending armies. And the general options are the Marib Camel Cataphract, the Royal Camel Archer, the Noble Swordsman, the Marib Royal Guard, and I believe the Desert Chariot is one? I believe so. But yeah, that'll do it for Saba. Next time's Royal Scythia. It'll be a short video then to make up for this longer one, and we'll see where we go from there. But yeah, see you then.